It was 1965 in February. Upstate New York, New Hamburg, New York, the Augustinian novitiate. And back then, the novitiate probably had 20 to 30 novices, all 18, 19, 20-year-old young men. There was one novice named Bill Atkinson. Bill was an unbelievable athlete, played football at Monsignor Bonner High School in Drexel Hill, Pennsylvania. His brother Al Atkinson, I believe, played for the Jets in Super Bowl III. You can look him up. So you could tell he was an athlete. He's one of the novices. There was a snowstorm, a blizzard, upstate New York. Surprise, surprise. So they all go out that day tobogganing. You know what a tobogganing? Toboggan is a sled. And there was a 4-man toboggan. Bill is in the front because he was so athletic and energetic. You can't steer a toboggan. You think you can, but you can't. So they're going down probably 35 miles an hour. It hits a divot straight into a tree. At that moment, Bill Atkinson's spine was severed. So this was 1965. Someone had to run back, call an ambulance. They put Bill, who was going into shock, they put him on the toboggan, and they're dragging him through the snow back to the house. Taken by ambulance to the hospital. Everyone thought he was going to die. They professed him as an Augustinian on his deathbed so that he would die as an Augustinian instead of a novice. Well, to make a long story short, he did not die. But he was paralyzed from the neck down for the rest of his life. I am so proud of my Augustinian brothers. I wasn't even alive yet, so I don't take any credit, but I'm so proud of them. They said, Bill, you came to us with right intention. If you want, you can stay. But you'll never be a priest because church law, canon law, there was the old code, if a man could not have the use of his hands, he could not be ordained a priest. Priests had become paralyzed, but they were already priests. Nobody could become a priest. So Bill says, that's fine. I just, So his classmates learned he couldn't move from the neck down. He learned his classmates learned how to bathe him, dress him, feed him. Everything, imagine you did today, someone else doing it for you. And they somehow jimmied up. He was able to somehow, with some type of a stick or something, and then as wheelchairs got better, he was able to move an electric wheelchair. Well, Bill was a fighter. I told you his brother was an NFL football player. He wasn't going to give up. He writes a letter to Pope Paul VI. You know how he typed? He had a pencil in his mouth and went like this on the typewriter. And he told his superiors that he was going to do this. They said, Bill, you can do it, but, it's never going to happen. He was asking for a dispensation. So he tells the Pope, he said, Holy Father, Pope Paul, now St. Paul VI, he said, this is what happened, this is who I am, but I feel I'm called, and please don't let my body hold me back. I will be the best priest I could be. We have the telegram that came back from Rome. Atkinson, dispensation granted. It must pay by the letter, because there was no, dear Bill, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. How's everything going? None of that. Atkinson, dispensation granted. And in 1974, Cardinal Kroll ordained Bill Atkinson, who became the first man in the 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church to be ordained a priest completely paralyzed. People like you, we didn't have deacons back there who could assist. Back then you didn't have that. So people just like you were trained to be his hands at Mass. You would hold up the bread as he said the words of institution. You would hold up the chalice. When he baptized, the parents would pour the water as he said, I baptize you in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And you might say, this is great. What did he do then? Just stay in the monastery? No, for the next 30 years, he taught at Monsignor Bonner High School, completely paralyzed. He was in charge of the student council, chaplain of the football team, and in charge of Saturday jug class. And he taught theology for 30 years. He went around giving talks like I do. He married people. He did everything. And he said he wasn't miserable. I only met him once. He said he wasn't miserable. Because he said, if I become miserable, is that going to help anyone? It's going to help me? Am I going to become unparalyzed if I become miserable? So he made a choice not to be miserable. And he had a saying, he doesn't buy green bananas. Actually, someone wrote a book called Green Bananas. Someone said, Father Bill, why didn't you buy a book? Why don't you buy green bananas? He said, I might not be alive when they ripen. So his attitude of life was, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I'm going to be the best paralyzed priest I can be. And he did. His cause is now up for canonization. We Augustinians know he's a saint. We want the church to know he's a saint. His body was just this past June disinterred from the cemetery and put in the side altar at Villanova University in the church. So if you ever get to Villanova, or if you ever get to Philadelphia, go to Villanova and visit Father Bill, and go to the cathedral and visit St. Catherine Drexel, because she's in the side altar in the cathedral. So, why do we want him to be a saint? So that the world will know that so many people, that when we have difficult times, to never give up. So I brought something for all of you. I brought a prayer card. He has a picture of Father Bill. He's there in his wheelchair. Has his story, has a prayer. Does anyone here need a miracle? Anyone? Start praying. We need 2. Wouldn't that be something if one of the miracles came from one of these 3 parishes? That's how saints are named. St. Rita's first miracle was the rose in the snow. So please pick one of these up. Take some if you want, give them to people. I have all kinds of them. But get to know Father Bill. So what did we do today? We looked at the saints, and we haven't even touched the surface. I have 40 saints I didn't even talk about. And so when you hear the saint's story, you may connect, maybe you won't. That's okay. Keep reading. And you're going to find someone that you connect with. And turn to them in your prayer. And begin with Mary and Joseph. And then find any other saints that touch your heart.